Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I am Kevin, 45-year-old. I've never been the kind of guy who looks for trouble. I go to work, put in my hours at the site, come home covered in dust and concrete, take a shower, eat whatever my wife Kelly, who is 42, thrown together, and sit in front of the TV until I pass out. That's been my rhythm for years. Simple, predictable, steady. At least, it used to be. Lately, things have been slipping. Not at work. That's still the same grind. No, the trouble's here at home. My daughter Linda, she's not the kid I used to know. Not anymore. She was 17 then. Old enough to know better, young enough to think she doesn't have to care. It started small. Missed curfews, attitude, music blasting in her room well past midnight. Typical teenage stuff, I told myself. But then came the school warnings, calls from the principal about skipped classes and detentions. Then money started disappearing from my wallet. Nothing huge, $20 here, 50 there. But it added up. One night I got home early from work, rained out on the site. I found the back door unlocked and her window open. She'd snuck out again. I waited. Sat in the dark like some kind of cliché sitcom dad, watching the clock tick past midnight, then 1. She strolled in at 1:37 a.m. like she owned the place, reeking of cheap perfume and cigarette smoke. Where the hell have you been? I snapped, standing up from the kitchen chair. She jumped, clearly not expecting me there. Jesus, Dad. You scared me. Answer the question. Out, she said, brushing past me like I was some fly buzzing around her head. I grabbed her wrist, firm but not rough. Don't walk away from me, Linda. She yanked free. Don't touch me. Kelly came running down the stairs in her robe. Kevin, what are you doing? What am I doing? I barked. Ask her where she's been all night. Kelly turned to Linda, her voice soft. Sweetheart, is everything okay? Linda's face twisted into a mock-innocent pout. I just went to Sammy's house. We were studying. At 1:30 in the goddamn morning? I lost track of time, she said flatly. Relax. I've had enough of this, I said. You're grounded. No more going out. No phone. No friends over. Linda's mouth dropped. You can't do that. I just did. She looked at her mother. Mom. Kelly hesitated. Kev, maybe we should talk about this. No, I said. This isn't a debate. This is parenting. And it's long overdue. Linda stormed up the stairs, slamming her bedroom door so hard it shook the frame. Kelly folded her arms, giving me that look. You can't just order her around like she's in boot camp. I'm not trying to be a drill sergeant, I said. But she's out of control, Kelly. And if we don't put our foot down now, we're going to lose her completely. She's just figuring herself out, she said. No, she's testing boundaries. And she's not finding any. I looked at her, tired. I'm not trying to be the bad guy. But someone has to be the damn adult in this house. Kelly didn't respond. She just turned and went back upstairs. And I stood there alone in the kitchen, wondering when my daughter stopped being my little girl, and when my wife stopped being on my side. It didn't take long for things to go from bad to worse. After I grounded Linda, the whole damn house felt like it was rigged with tripwires. I'd walked through the front door and could already feel the tension thick in the air. No hello from Kelly. Just silence, or worse, passive sighs and looks she thought I wouldn't notice. Every night felt like we were tiptoeing around a ticking bomb. And Linda? She knew exactly what she was doing, playing sweet and broken to her mother, all while glaring at me like I'd burned her diary. One night after dinner, while I was fixing the leaky kitchen tap, Kelly finally snapped. You're turning this house into a prison. Kevin, she said, arms crossed, leaning against the counter. I looked up, wrench still in my hand. No, I'm trying to turn it back into a home. One with rules. She's 17, not 7. And she's sneaking out at 2 a.m., lying to us, and failing her classes. That's not figuring herself out, Kelly. That's going off the rails. Kelly shook her head. You don't get it. She's hurting. You're making it worse. She's manipulating you. Don't talk to me like I'm blind. I'll stop when you stop acting like you can't see what's happening. She turned her back to me. Classic move. Done talking. Except I wasn't. I'm not doing this because I enjoy it, Kelly. I'm trying to be her father. Trying to stop her from crashing into a wall. She cried herself to sleep last night. Kevin, she said quietly. Good, I replied, sharper than I intended. She should feel something when she screws up. Consequences matter. Kelly spun around. You think scaring her is going to fix this? What happened to talking to her? I tried talking. She lied to my face. Maybe because she's scared of you. That one hit me harder than a punch. I've never raised a hand to her, I said, keeping my voice low. But I will not stand by while she ruins her life. Ruins her life? Kelly said. She's a teenager. I laughed bitterly. Exactly. And that's the problem. She's a teenager with zero consequences and a mother who keeps making excuses for her. Kelly stormed out of the kitchen. You're impossible. And upstairs? I heard the faint creak of Linda's bedroom door. She'd been listening. Of course she had. The next day, Linda came downstairs dressed for school. Tight jeans, shorts, heavy makeup, crop top. I barely looked up from my coffee. Change your clothes, I said. She turned to Kelly. Mom. Kelly sighed, but didn't say a word. Linda smirked at me. Guess I'm good then. And just like that, I saw it. That look. The smug satisfaction of someone who knows they've turned two people against each other. She was winning. And we were losing, because we weren't a team anymore. We were just two exhausted parents, arguing in opposite directions while our daughter learned all the wrong lessons. And deep down, I knew this wasn't the end of it. Not even close. Few days later, it was a little past 7:30 p.m. when I drove down Lancaster Road on my way back from the hardware store. I don't usually take that route, too many strip malls and noise, but something made me turn. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was luck. Whatever it was, I saw her. Linda, sitting on the hood of some rusted-out Honda Civic with three boys I didn't recognize. Music thumping. Cans of beer in their hands. Cheap, warm, careless. She was laughing, her head thrown back like she didn't have a curfew. One of the guys handed her a drink, and she took it. Not even a second of hesitation. I pulled over. Hard. Tires screeched. I didn't care who was watching. Linda, I barked as I got out of the car. She froze, beer halfway to her lips. The boys all looked up, defensive right away, like they knew what kind of man I was. Good. They should. What the hell are you doing? I snapped. Dad, she started. Get in the car. She didn't move. I said now. You're embarrassing me, she shouted, standing up fast. You can't just show up and drag me out of here like I'm 5. I saw you drinking, I said, stepping closer. You're underage. You're on thin ice already. It's just one beer. Everyone drinks. You don't get to control me like this. You already humiliated me enough. This isn't about control. This is about consequences. I turned to the boys. You, get in your car and leave. Now. They didn't argue. They scattered like cockroaches when the lights come on. Linda's face was red, furious, mouth trembling like she was about to scream or cry. I didn't care. You don't get it, she yelled, as I steered her toward my car. You're always watching. Always judging. I'm not a child. You're not an adult either. I cut her off. You want to act like one? Start by not drinking beer in a parking lot with guys who don't even know your last name. She shoved me back. Not hard, but hard enough to send a message. You don't love me. You just want control. I didn't answer. I just opened the passenger door. She got in, slamming it behind her. We drove home in silence. She glared out the window the entire time. When we got back, Kelly was in the kitchen. She looked up and immediately sensed the tension. What happened? She asked gently. She was drinking with a group of boys in a parking lot. I said flatly. I pulled her out before the cops did. Linda exploded. He humiliated me. He screamed at me in public like I was some kind of criminal. Kelly held up her hands. Okay. Let's just breathe for a second. Linda, go to your room. Kevin, give it a moment, all right? But I couldn't. I felt it rising, tight in my chest. That old frustration. That helpless rage. I've given this house structure. Rules. A roof. And the moment I put my foot down, I'm the villain. I said, voice shaking with restraint. Kelly tried to step between us. Please. She's just a kid, Kev. She's acting out. I've been called worse than a tyrant in my own house, Kelly. And I'm not doing this tonight. I grabbed my keys and walked out the door. I needed air. Or silence. Or just a place where my own daughter didn't look at me like I was the enemy. I came back home late, went straight to bed, and slept. The next day, I followed the same routine, got ready, and went to the office. It was Tuesday. I remember because I'd just finished a 12-hour shift pouring concrete for a strip mall foundation, and all I wanted was a shower, a cold beer, and maybe 10 minutes of peace. Instead, I walked into a nightmare. 2 police cruisers were parked outside the house. Red and blue lights bouncing off the windows. For a moment, I thought maybe there was a break-in. Maybe someone got hurt. I ran up the porch, heart thudding, and didn't even get the door halfway open before 2 officers turned to me. Kevin Mitchell? One asked, hand resting on his belt. Yeah, what's going on? You're under arrest for domestic assault. Hands where I can see them. I froze. What? Turn around. Now. I didn't argue. I raised my hand slowly, still in my work boots, still covered in dust and sweat. They cuffed me on my own front porch like I was some kind of monster. And then I saw her, Linda, standing in the hallway, her eyes red, tears streaking her face. Her left arm had a bruise the size of a baseball, and there were scratches along her neck. She wouldn't even look at me. Linda? I asked, bewildered. What the hell is this? Sir, the officer snapped, pulling me down the steps. You'll have your chance to speak. Wait. This is a mistake. I didn't touch her. Kelly appeared behind Linda, pale and shaking. She wasn't crying. Not yet. Just frozen. I shouted again as they shoved me in the cruiser. Kelly, tell them. You know I'd never lay a hand on her. But she didn't say anything. Not a damn word. They booked me at the station. Took my fingerprints, my belt, even my shoelaces like I was some kind of danger to myself. They put me in a holding cell and left me there. No phone call for 6 hours. No explanation. My lawyer, Rick, a guy I've known since high school, came down as soon as I reached him. This is bad, he said, flipping through the initial report. She's got photos. Visible injuries. Says you grabbed her during an argument and shoved her into the wall. She's lying, I said, voice raw. I didn't touch her. I believe you, Rick said. But unless we prove otherwise, you're already losing this battle. At the arraignment, I sat at the defense table like a ghost of myself. I looked up and saw Kelly on the witness stand. She looked nervous, like someone shoved into the spotlight who didn't want to be there. Rick leaned over and whispered, she could help. One statement from her saying you never laid a hand on your daughter, and this whole thing gets thrown into question. But when the prosecutor asked Kelly what she saw that night, she hesitated. She knew one word could save Kevin. She could admit that Linda had lied, that the accusations were born from panic and spite. But doing so would paint Linda as manipulative, dishonest, a troubled teen whose lies had spiraled into destruction. The other option was silence, or worse, agreement. A lie that would secure Linda's victimhood and Kevin's conviction. Kelly looked at her daughter, nervous, tearful, and then at her husband, calm but betrayed. She lied. I came downstairs and saw Kevin yelling. Linda had fallen. I don't know if he pushed her, but she was hurt and scared. That was it. Not even a clear accusation, but enough. Enough to sink me. I didn't even look at her when it was over. I couldn't. They took me into custody right after. No bail. The bruises, the witness testimony, the pattern of aggressive behavior based on prior school and CPS reports Linda must have doctored or exaggerated. It all stacked up. I was processed and shipped off to county. 7 years. 7 goddamn years. And the worst part? Not the cell. Not the cold. Not the silence. The worst part was knowing that the two people I built my whole life around, my wife and my daughter, were the ones who put me there. And I didn't even get a chance to tell my side before the bars slammed shut. You don't understand how long 7 years is until you're counting every second of it from behind a locked steel door. I was sentenced to 7 years for something I didn't do. Assault on a minor. Domestic violence. That label stuck to me like rot. No one wanted to hear my side. Not the judge, not the court, and certainly not the damn jury. Once Kelly gave that weak, broken testimony, just enough to suggest guilt, the rest wrote itself. My daughter's bruises, her tears, the photos, all orchestrated like a damn stage play. And I was the villain. Rick did what he could, but the prosecution had their story. Unstable father. Aggressive temper. Pattern of control. They made me sound like some ticking bomb. No one cared about truth, just narrative. So they threw the book at me. Convicted. 7 years. No parole until 5 minimum. The cell they stuck me in was about 8 feet by 10. Cold. Concrete walls. Bunk. Toilet. Sink. Same meal rotation every week. Same head count 3 times a day. Same silence every night. Broken only by guys screaming from nightmares or getting jumped in the next tier over. You'd be surprised how fast people disappear from your life in prison. Friends stop calling. Family stops writing. Even Rick eventually stopped checking in. But not Kelly. No, she sent letters. Not out of guilt. More like updates. Little notes, like we were still some family apart for a short time. Linda needs braces. I'm dipping into the savings. The car broke down. Hope you understand. School fees are mounting. I'm using the joint account. The joint account. My savings. Every paycheck I ever put aside for emergencies, for Linda's college, for a second car, for retirement. Gone. I couldn't stop it. Couldn't fight it. I had no power from in here. Rick said the accounts were technically hers too, marital property. She bled them dry, never worked, but lived off my money. 7 years of watching every dollar I worked for disappear while I wore the same uniform, eating the same garbage, sitting through group therapy with guys who actually had beaten their kids. I didn't belong there, but I was there all the same. And my house. The only thing that kept me sane most nights was remembering that house. The place Mom left me when she passed. Paid off. Built with pride. My name on every beam. My sweat in every tile I fixed, every faucet I installed. That was my anchor. Then one day, I got a letter from a neighbor, old Mr. Gilbert from down the block. Kevin, I hate to say it, but Kelly's let the place go. Yards overgrown. Shingles missing. Linda's throwing parties. Cars coming and going at all hours. I sat on my bunk for hours, reading that letter over and over, like it was some death notice. They took everything, my freedom, my name, my money, and now they were trashing the one thing they didn't even own. But they forgot one thing. That house was still mine. Legally. Fully. And no matter how much they spent or how hard they tried to turn it into their playground, it was never theirs. I knew then, when I got out, if I survived this sentence, I wouldn't raise my voice, wouldn't throw a punch, wouldn't even speak unless necessary. I'd just take back what was mine. And I wouldn't give them a single damn thing in return. I didn't feel anything the day I walked out of prison. No joy. No relief. Just emptiness. 7 years strips things from you. Rage, warmth, even the sound of your own voice if you let it. I stopped talking unless I had to. Even with Rick. Especially with Rick. He picked me up outside the gates in his old gray Chevy. Didn't say much. Just nodded and handed me a clean set of clothes and a folder. Inside the folder, copy of the deed to the house, still in my name. Divorce petition, ready to be filed. Eviction notice for both Kelly and Linda, signed and ready to serve. You sure you want to do it this way? Rick asked as we drove. I didn't answer. I just looked out the window, watching a world I barely recognized slide past. When we pulled up to the house, it hit me like a gut punch. Overgrown lawn. Rusted car on the curb. Trash bags stacked beside the porch. Paint peeling from the siding. This wasn't the home I'd left. It looked like something forgotten. I stepped out of the car slowly, quietly. Rick followed, legal documents in hand. Kelly opened the door before I reached it. She froze when she saw me. Her face paled like she'd seen a ghost. Kevin. I didn't say a word. Just looked past her into the house. My house. And then back at Rick, who cleared his throat and stepped forward. Mrs. Mitchell, he said formally, we're here to serve you and your daughter with an immediate eviction notice. You are to vacate the property within 72 hours, or we'll file for forced removal. Kelly blinked, stunned. Eviction? This is our home. It's his home, Rick cut in. The deed never changed hands. It was inherited property. Non-marital asset under state law. You had no legal claim to it, Kelly. Linda appeared behind her. Older now. Harder. Cold makeup. Dead eyes. She didn't look surprised, just annoyed. You can't do this, Kelly snapped, looking at me. After everything we've been through? I finally spoke, my voice like gravel. I just did. Now start packing, bitch. She stepped toward me. Kevin, I was scared. Screw you. I don't need explanation. Just get out, I said flatly. Linda scoffed. What? Now you think we're just gonna leave because you say so? Rick stepped between us. Actually, yes. He is the owner, and he can do that. 3 days. Then the sheriff comes. And you'll both be out, one way or another. I turned and walked away without another word. No yelling. No begging. No revenge. Just cold, silent, legal consequence. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in a motel room 2 towns over and waited. I didn't set foot back in the house until they were gone. Rick was the one who confirmed it. Called me that morning. They moved out last night. No police needed. Probably figured dragging it out wouldn't help in court. I didn't answer. Just stared at the phone for a long second before hanging up. That afternoon, I walked through the front door. It didn't feel like coming home. It felt like stepping into a grave someone tried to bury me in. The place was trashed. Holes in the drywall. Cigarette burns on the carpet. Kitchen faucet dripping. Cabinet doors hanging loose. Linda had turned her old room into some kind of club. Glow-in-the-dark paint. Busted speakers. Beer bottles still on the floor. I didn't say a word. Just grabbed a trash bag, opened every window, and started cleaning. Rick came by the next day with a thick manila folder in his hand. He dropped it on the kitchen counter like it weighed 100 pounds. Divorce petition, he said flatly. You ready? I nodded. Yeah. He gave me a look. One of those attorney looks that tries to read your resolve. She'll fight it, he warned. Or try to. But she's broke. Burned through everything. And since the house was never community property, and you've been incarcerated, the court won't be sympathetic to her. She has no standing. I didn't smile. Didn't feel good. Just felt necessary. She deserves nothing, I said. I want you to file for getting back all the money she spent on her illegally from my account. Rick tapped the folder. Sure. I'll do that too. We served Kelly the papers that week. She showed up at the initial hearing alone. No lawyer. Hair pulled back. She looked thin, like life had been chiseling at her day by day, and she'd finally lost too many pieces. She didn't look at me. Didn't look at Rick. Just stood there staring ahead until the judge asked, Ms. Mitchell, do you have counsel? I can't afford one, she said, voice low but steady. The judge nodded. You can proceed pro se, but you'll be held to the same standards as any other party. Rick leaned over to me and muttered, this won't take long. It didn't. I didn't even need to speak. Rick did what he does best, cold, sharp, methodical. Non-marital property. No joint assets. No spousal support due to perjury during my criminal trial. It felt like watching a surgeon cut through bone. The judge finally looked at her and asked, do you have receipts for the funds withdrawn from Mr. Mitchell's account? She looked lost. I don't have them anymore. The judge scribbled something. You're ordered to pay restitution to the petitioner. $12,000. You have 3 weeks. I didn't look at her. Still didn't feel like a win. Outside the courthouse, I was walking with Rick when I heard her footsteps behind us. I stopped but didn't turn. You're ruining me, Kevin, she said. Her voice was shaky, but there was still that old tone, like she was the victim in all this. I turned slowly, looked her right in the eye. You already ruined me, Kelly. Payback is a bitch. She blinked fast, tried to steady herself. I didn't know what to do, she whispered. She's my daughter. No, I said coldly. She lied, and you chose her over the truth. She reached out, maybe to touch my arm, maybe to plead. I stepped back. Rick stepped between us. That's enough. My client will not be engaging. Kelly stood there, stunned, her hand falling to her side like even it had given up. I didn't say anything else. Just turned and walked away. No hate. No yelling. Just a clean break, legal and final. And for once, I wasn't the one being walked out of the courtroom in cuffs. I got back to work in construction. Same company. Same boss. He knew I'd been innocent the whole time. Told me there'd always be a spot for me. I heard about the trailer through Rick. He keeps tabs, probably more than I want him to. She's living out in Maplewood, he said one day while we were going over invoices. East End. Cheap place. Roof's probably tin. Linda's with her. I didn't ask how he knew. Didn't care. They were gone. That was the point. Still, even if I didn't want the updates, they found me. Neighbors talking. Cops making rounds. Linda spiraling. Drugs, late-night parties, strange guys coming and going. Arrested twice for shoplifting. Once for resisting. Juvenile charges, but she was aging out. Next time, it'd be adult court. And me? I didn't feel anything. Not pity. Not satisfaction. Just distance. Then, about a year after I got the house back, Kelly showed up. I saw her through the front window, standing outside the locked gate, coat too thin for the rain, hair wet and clinging to her face. She looked older. Smaller. She rang the bell. I stepped outside, but didn't leave the porch. She raised her hand slightly, tentative. Kevin, please. I need to talk to you. I said nothing. Just stood there, arms crossed. Rain coming down steady. It's Linda, she said. She's not well. She's using. I think she's dealing. She hit me last week. Still, I didn't speak. Her voice cracked. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm scared of my own daughter. We're broke. I can't even fix the heat in the trailer. I thought maybe you could help. That's when I spoke. I don't help people who stab me in the back. You made your bed. Now sleep in it. She shook her head, stepping closer to the gate. I didn't know what she'd do. She was my daughter. No, I cut in. She was our daughter. And you chose to lie for her. Now you live with her. That's your choice. She's out of control, Kelly said. It's your fault for turning your back on her. That was it. I turned to go back inside. This is your doing, Kelly. You raised her to believe there are no consequences. Congratulations. Now you're living with one. She started yelling after me, something desperate. But I didn't hear the words. I called Rick that night. I want a restraining order. For both of them. He didn't even ask why. Just said, I'll file it first thing in the morning. It was granted in 3 days. Served through the county sheriff. They weren't allowed within 300 feet of my home, my work site, or any property tied to my name. And that was the last time I ever spoke to Kelly. From that point forward, if her name came up, it was in court documents or whispers from people with too much time and too much gossip. I had nothing left for her. Not even words. Days later, I found out the way anyone would in this world, through a headline. Young girl fatally shot and drug bust outside Parkview Estates. I didn't need to read further. The age matched. The location matched. The name confirmed it. Linda, 25. I stared at the screen. Not in shock, no. That had burned out of me long ago. I felt nothing. Or maybe too much. Twisted together into something numb and hollow. I just sat there, breathing slowly, hearing the faint clicks of the old radiator behind me. My lawyer, Rick, called 2 hours later. You saw? Yeah. You okay? I hesitated. Should I be? He didn't push. The official report came 2 days later. Linda had been involved in a buy-sell exchange. Pills, fentanyl-laced. Undercover officers had moved in. Guns were drawn. Linda tried to run. One of her so-called friends used her as a shield. She was shot once through the chest. Died on the scene. Kelly called. She must have gotten a new number. I let it ring. She texted. She's gone. Our baby's gone. Please talk to me. I sat on my porch with the same silence I'd learned in prison. The kind that speaks louder than words. The wind blew through the busted fence slats I still hadn't fixed. It whistled. Another text. You're the only one left. I don't know what to do. I finally replied. You made this. Not me. I was never heard, never trusted. I tried to stop her. You let her play us both. Now she's gone. Good job done. Women like you should never breed. Never contact me again. The restraining order is still in effect. I didn't go to the funeral. Didn't ask when it was. Didn't ask where they buried her. Didn't even pretend to care. People say things like, closure matters. But closure implies something was left open. As far as I'm concerned, that door slammed shut the day I walked out of that prison and found them living off the ashes of my life. Linda made her choices. Harsh as it sounds, she did. And Kelly? She made more. Every time she let our daughter lie. Every time she twisted the truth to protect herself instead of her child. Every time she sent me letters in prison begging for forgiveness, but never once admitting the part she played. There were no flowers for me. No card. No presents. Not even a silent car at the back of the lot. I stayed home. I heard through Rick a week later. She held a small service. Just a few people. Closed casket. Was she expecting me to show? I asked without looking up. He didn't answer. Kelly tried calling again. New number, again. This one from a city-county housing number. Kevin, please. I know you hate me. I know I failed. But she's dead. Don't you feel anything? I blocked the number. She wrote once. A handwritten letter. I didn't open it. I had it notarized and sent back. I added a typed note, simple and cold. Do not contact me. Per the restraining order filed under case #07-331. KV. Any further communication will be grounds for contempt. A week later, Rick forwarded me an update from a friend. I'd asked him to look into where she ended up, just to know, not out of care, but curiosity. Kelly was in a government trailer park now. Government assistance. No job, no family, no friends, no daughter. Emotionally gutted and financially destroyed. Just her and whatever echoes she had left from the life she torched. Rick looked at me across the table when I read the report. Feel vindicated? He asked. No, I said. I feel done. I stood, folded the file, and dropped it in a drawer. That chapter had ended long ago, and I wasn't about to reread it. It was quiet. That was the first thing I noticed that morning. No ringing phones. No court summons. No late-night dread creeping up my spine. Just the soft tick of the wall clock and the warmth of the sun spilling in through the blinds of my study. I made coffee like I always did. Black. 2 sugars. Poured slow. The mug was chipped. Old. But familiar. I like that. Familiar meant stable. Predictable. After the chaos Kelly dragged me through, I built a life on silence and predictability. And for once, I didn't hate being alone. I kept the house modest. Clean lines. No clutter. Everything had a place. Unlike the years before, when my world was a constant mess of emotional landmines and reactive guilt. I had no pictures up. No memories on the wall. Just books. Case files. Legal journals. A few plants I remembered to water every other day. And peace. That was enough. Sometimes I'd think about Linda. Not often. Not emotionally. Just factually. What choices led her there? What choices led me here? And Kelly? I hadn't seen her in years. But I kept tabs, at a distance, through legal channels and quiet inquiries. The restraining order was still in place, renewed annually. There were no violations. No contact. Just absence. She'd been evicted again, twice, actually. Shelters. Public assistance. No employment records. She'd filed for disability last winter. Emotional distress and chronic depression, the form said. Denied. There were no more threats. No manipulations. No sob stories. She'd burned all her bridges. Even her own reflection had nothing left to say. Rick dropped by once every few months. He told me the last time he saw her, she was standing outside a shelter on Franklin Street. Clothes hanging off her, hair in knots, face weathered like wet newspaper. She didn't ask about me. She didn't say a word. Sad, Rick muttered. Not really, I replied. It's justice. Slow, maybe, but fair. Because justice isn't always loud. It doesn't always come in courtrooms or headlines. Sometimes, it's just a man drinking coffee in silence. And the woman who made him suffer, left standing outside a shelter. Alone. Without excuses. Without audience. Without anything. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.